Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. How's it going? Hope everyone's doing well and having a good holiday season. Lord knows we all need a little cheer in our lives right now, do we not? I just wanted to hop on here and just speak for a moment on some various things that have been on my mind lately, and I just wanted to just hop on here and kind of rant and rave and vent and ramble on about all kinds of things. I mean, things that I did this year and things that are coming up, and I hope to continue doing into next year. Maybe doing more of these, like once a month, maybe more, depending on how they go. But I've always been terrible at connecting and using social media, and I feel like I just don't do it enough. And I mean, I have intentions about doing it, but it doesn't ever seem to manifest and happen. Like I'll think, oh, I need to post more about my book. I need to do that more. I need to post more about writing. And I see other authors on Instagram doing that, and I'm always a little jealous about it. I'm like, gosh, they're so much better at it than I am. And I just don't ever think about it. I mean, I peruse social media enough. Lord knows it's quite a distracting thing for me. Just the habit of opening up the phone and doom scrolling through Instagram and those kinds of things. But and I don't want to do it as much in the coming year. At least that's the hope. But I would like to start making more content again, and talking about my writing and those kinds of things and connecting with people. That's something I would like to be more intentional about and do more. But man, this year was really tough. Not gonna lie, this was one of the hardest years I think I've ever had. At least it's one of the hardest years I can remember in a long time. It just wasn't good. It didn't feel good. And I think we all kind of feel that way. I mean, things just weren't good for people in our lives, ourselves, coworkers, our country. It just a lot of really bad things happened, this year. And I think we can all acknowledge that. I think we all understand and know that I think 2025 just for the dogs. Nothing good really came out of it. At least that's how I feel. I mean, the morale, for my day job, that wasn't very good. Surprising. Writing is not my full-time job. So my day job, morale was at an all-time low. And I struggled, mentally through a lot of this year. I feel like I gained weight. I didn't go to the gym as much. I didn't eat as healthy as I could. I drank probably the equivalent of the Atlantic Ocean in Coke Zero and, soda. I didn't drink as much this year. So that's good. That's a positive. But I definitely loaded up on zero sugar soda. Just from the stress, and also developed a love of cold brew coffee this year, and I started drinking that more, and now I can't stop, and I love it, and it's like my treat for the week. I cannot wait to get my cold brew. So I started drinking coffee, which I never do. I've never done that, and I started doing that this year. But one of the big struggles, I sold my house. And that was a painful experience. For anyone out there who is currently having to go through the process of selling your house, I feel for you, because I think I put my townhouse on the market, and living in North Raleigh. I had a townhouse in North Raleigh. I thought I was in prime position. And listen, I'm a millennial, and I had always heard that, if you have property, that's like the best thing you can have. And that, it's a great investment. You're not going to lose money on that investment. Having property is the most important thing. Turns out it's not. It didn't really. The house just went and sold. We put it on the market, I think, in July. And here we are in December. And I sold it for way less than what I put it on the market for. But, I don't even care, because it's over with. That stress is gone, and that house is gone, and I'm just happy to be done with it. Turns out that, when I think back on it, and I did some reflecting on it on this recent book that I was writing, I realized that I didn't really have that many happy memories in that house. It was a lot of just tough memories, and so I'm just glad to be done with it, and it's no longer my problem, and it's gone, and that makes me happy. So I'm looking forward not to having that over my head going into 2026. But I am looking forward to, a new year, new me kind of situation. I do have a new book coming out. I did manage to do some writing this year amidst all of the other things that were going on. I was able to go out there and get the writing done, and I started working on this book called Sourdough Sky. I worked on it for quite a long time because I started it, I think, in September. It was like September, October 2024 is when I think I started writing it. And I started writing it as just, I didn't have any story in mind. I just started writing about telling a story of something I was going through with my dad. My dad was in the hospital at the start of, I think it was, was it 2024? Was it 2023? I think it was 2024. Yeah, definitely 2024. The time, fellas, guys, people, folks, the time runs together. I don't even remember. I remember events. I don't remember dates. It just all runs together. It's crazy. I feel like this year specifically, my brain has turned to like Swiss cheese. I used to be pretty sharp. Or at least I used to think I was pretty sharp. I no longer am. I'm more like a dulled butter knife who feels like a russet potato all the time. Anyway, I was able to do some writing. I started just putting my thoughts on the page about like just venting really about, retelling these stories I remember of my dad. He and I did not have a great relationship. We didn't have a relationship actually. And I remember just starting writing those kinds of feelings down on the page, which later, as I read back, I was like, there's the manifestation of a possible story here. But I didn't know, like, do I just write a story about what life was like growing up, or do I actually fictionalize this thing? And eventually a story presented itself, and I've written this thing about Sourdough Sky. It's I've been marketing it when I talk about it with people. I market it as like Eat, Pray, Love for men. But because it's essentially that story where like the guy, he goes through a terrible breakup, has all these problems with his dad, and then just says, screw it. I don't want to deal with this life anymore. I'm going to go run off and live into the wilderness of Alaska. So it's a little bit of that Into the Wild movie where that guy travels to Alaska. I went to Alaska myself. In 2024, I was painfully single and had gone on, dates with these girls, and it just didn't work out for one reason or the other. And as my birthday rolled around, turning 36, I was just in a bad place and was like, I'm gonna do something for myself. I had two ideas of what I wanted to do for my birthday. I was like, one idea is I want to buy the Lego Millennium Falcon, like spend the $800 and get this Lego Millennium Falcon and put it together. That's what I'm going to treat myself, on my birthday and buy this thing. Or I'm going to go to Alaska. And I chose Alaska. I went on an Alaskan cruise. I'm not a cruise person, to be honest with you. But I went on this Alaskan cruise, did have a good time. And I was just, Alaska is so beautiful. And I came away inspired, and I wanted to write about it. And so I built this story of this guy. He runs off to Alaska to change his life. And I love the way it turned out. But it was very challenging, and it was very, because it was so different. It was different than anything I'd ever written before. It wasn't scary. It wasn't the Western. It didn't involve gratuitous violence, which is something I'm typically known for. It was very different. But I welcome the challenge, of writing a character-driven drama piece, and tried to stay true to myself, and tried to write from the heart and tell the truth and be honest with myself and put myself out there, and expose a lot of painful thoughts and feelings on the page for people to read. That's what I tried to do. But that also kind of brings me to what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, and that is writer's block. You see, probably one of the scariest questions a writer can ask himself, at least one of the scariest questions for me, is whenever I get done with a project, I'm coming to the end. You get that excitement of like, gosh, I'm almost finished with this. But then you start thinking to yourself, what's next? And most times in my writing career, if we can call it that, I have always kind of known where I was going to go next, what I was going to do next. I'm like, okay, as soon as I finish this book, I'm going to go work on the second David Red. And when I finish the second David Red, I'm going to work on Blackwater Falls, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I've got this idea. This is the first time when I was coming to the end of Sourdough Sky. This is the first time that I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to write about next. I don't know where the inspiration is going to come from for this next one. And to be honest, I have like 3 ideas of like what I want to write about next, but it's picking the right one and the one that is going to mean the most to me, because I can only write one thing at a time. I can't write like several things at once. I have to pick like one thing and like hyper focus on that one thing for the entire year. That's just how I am, you know. And so I've been thinking about like what to do, and I've got like such serious writer's block that I've sat down and I've written like one chapter to like each idea. And there's something about like each one that like, I don't know, isn't grabbing me as much. Maybe some of the ideas are better than others, but like, I don't know. You know, there's always the third David Red I could fall back on. I know I've been procrastinating on the third David Red, and I know what I want the third David Red to be about, but it's one of those things where like I also want to, you know, the third David Red is going to capture, you know, it's a political conversation for me. Like, you know, it is about revolution and it's, you know, all these things, but like, because the current climate is what it is, it's like, do I want to live in that world for like a year writing about revolutions and authoritarianism and all these kinds of things? I don't know if that's what I want to do. And then, you know, same with some of the other things. Like I have this like science fiction horror story, you know, I kind of, having spent a year writing drama, you know, you kind of think like, well, I want to go back to my roots and write about scary stuff, you know. So, you know, you have that science fiction horror story idea, but it, you know, I kind of want to write about my fears surrounding AI, and it's a very gloomy, dark story. And it's like, well, do I want to live in that for a year? Do I want to think about that for a whole year? I don't know. So I've been dealing with that, but I have also just kind of been allowing myself the grace not to feel so stressed about it, because I remember the other time I had really bad writer's block was when I first sat down to write Blackwater Falls. The first like 30 pages I wrote for the original idea behind Blackwater Falls, and what Blackwater Falls ended up becoming when I finished, are like 2 vastly different things. You know, that story changed so much, but I just allowed myself the ability just to write and write and write and write, whether I thought it was good, whether I thought it was bad, just write, and then go back, and as you get ideas, fill in those gaps, change things to fit the new idea that you feel passionate about, and allow that story to shape and mold in a way that you're not married to something. You know, you're not like, I have to make this idea work above all else. Just say to yourself, I'm just going to write. I'm going to allow my brain to be creative and create those characters and worlds, and whatever happens and whatever the characters tell me they want to say, let them do. And as you are, you know, out and about at the gym, walking on the treadmill, walking around, or just sitting there and driving in the car, if you get that idea, don't be afraid to allow that idea to take shape, even if that means that you're like, gosh, I have this great idea for this story to include in this story, but if I have to do this, then I have to rewrite, you know, 40 pages worth of stuff. Rewrite those 40 pages. Do it. You're a writer, right? You enjoy writing. So I'm trying not to stress out about the fact that I have that writer's block so bad this time around, and just write daily. And, if an idea comes and the words pour out of me, great. If it doesn't, just sitting there with it and, trying and seeing what happens and comes out of it. That's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, next year we're going to have a new book that's coming out, which I'm very excited about. And then who knows what I'm going to be working on in 2026 and what you can expect to read in 2027. All I know is that when it rolls out and whatever it ends up becoming, I hope you love it. So anyway, it was good checking in. I'm going to try to do this more often. And, so I can hopefully connect more. We're also going to be having a podcast coming out, on Fridays, and that should be starting in 2026 as well. And that's going to be really funny. We got some great folks on that show, who are a lot funnier than I am. And, we're just going to talk. We're just going to have water cooler talk, and it's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. So thanks for checking in. I'll see you guys around. Stay cool. Have a good holiday season. Take it easy.